Over the past few years, I've found it harder and harder to get excited for whatever new movie is coming out, especially if it's part of something I've loved in the past. I've been a fan of the Alien franchise since I was a child, but when Romulus was announced, all I felt was extreme skepticism. I didn't want to get my hopes up just in case the movie felt like a tired cash grab or another studio's attempt to give me a stern lecture.
Like, we have to always be extraordinary. But somehow we're always doing it wrong.
After the underwhelming attempt at reviving the Alien franchise with Prometheus and Covenant, I was certain Romulus would be just another disappointing dud.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
But I am delighted to say, Alien's back, baby!
And totally redeem yourself!
Welcome back. I'm Darby Lewis Wilson, and I'm very excited to tell you that I was completely surprised by Alien Romulus. Now, even though Alien Romulus began its theatrical run this weekend by reaching #1 at the box office, it looks like it's catching a lot of shade from other YouTube critics. So, I haven't bothered watching any other reviews because I don't want it to taint my high coming off of this movie. But I do want to give you my spoiler-free thoughts of all the good and the bad because I really think Alien Romulus is definitely worth your time and money to see in theaters. So the things that caught me right out of the gate were the practical effects and the overall look of the film. Fede Alvarez and his design team absolutely nailed that 70s retro-futurism aesthetic. If you listen to our podcast, you'll know that I'm a huge advocate for movies looking dirty. I can't stand it when sci-fi movies have that MacBook aesthetic where everything looks clean and white and looks like it came straight out of the Apple Store. Romulus is full of big, chunky, dirty equipment that looks used and worn. And for me, that's what makes the world believable, even if the technology I'm seeing doesn't make any sense. In the real world, there's all sorts of machinery I have no idea how to run or what it's used for, but the fact that there's dirt on it and the numbers are worn off of the buttons lets me know that it's used and it does serve a purpose. Romulus begins in a Weyland-Yutani-owned mining colony that is heavily industrialized, so it doesn't feel out of place to say that this is in the future where we have touch screens and Bluetooth. On this mining planet, it's just more practical to run heavy machinery with hydraulic levers and spring-loaded keyboards. Obviously, Romulus is trying to match the overall look of the original 1979 film, and it does a great job of blending what was imagined as top technology back then to what we think of as top technology today. And this is probably the film's strongest achievement, blending the old with the new. Romulus does something no other Alien film has done and actually ties all the films together in a meaningful way, from the original trilogy, the fever dream that is Alien Resurrection, and the enigmatic Prometheus and Covenant storylines. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't face some logical challenges for the other films, but they're no worse than Prometheus or Covenant. And instead of creating more mystery, we finally get some answers as to what the xenomorphs are and how they work. But it's not done in an over-explaining way that leaves the film devoid of any mystique. It definitely delivers on plenty of WTF moments that make you want to know more. Some worries that I had about the movie right away after watching the trailers were that Alien was going to be used as another vehicle to push popular Hollywood ideologies. Yes, the Alien franchise has historically been female-led, but within the past few years, it seems that writers have forgotten how to make a strong female lead without making her a complete asshole. But I'm pleased to say that our main protagonist is not that at all. She's thoughtful and cautious. She's obviously competent with machinery because of her background, but she's not some prodigy or super genius. In fact, she's not particularly smarter or more adept than any of the other characters. And that creates a real sense of dread throughout the movie. It feels like everyone's life is at stake. The movie could have easily made her a no-nonsense girl boss who just needs everyone to get out of her way so that she can save the day.
Come on, we gotta move! I know how to run without holding my hand!
But it's her quick thinking and compassion that gives her an edge. There are just so many bad directions this movie could have taken, but it stayed on course. The true bad guy of Alien has always been the Weyland-Yutani Company, and Romulus could have easily spent time telling us all about the evils of corporate capitalism, but it didn't. It just showed us the world and the characters and let us draw our own conclusions, just like a good movie should do. So what was bad about Alien Romulus, and what's everybody complaining about? Was it that the characters made stupid decisions? Maybe, but I really think whatever dumb things they do are at least motivated and understandable from what we know of the characters. Their decisions aren't just something that comes out of nowhere to move the plot along. Now, I do think it's somewhat of a huge coincidence that this derelict space station just so happens to find its way to a company-colonized planet, and the company doesn't bother to investigate. But that can be easily explained away. And I should say there's some bad CGI in places, most likely due to their modest blockbuster budget of $80 million. But I do think they wisely chose where to skimp out and where to go all in. Honestly, the worst part of this movie is the same thing that made it great. It was obviously meant to give a ton of fan service, and sometimes it went too far in that direction. Alien Romulus is basically The Force Awakens or the Ghostbusters Afterlife of the Alien franchise. Ignoring the turds that came after those movies, I think Romulus did exactly what it needed to do to invite in new fans and show the old fans it cares about the story as a whole. But sometimes it does feel like the movie is winking directly at the camera and saying, "Remember this?" And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see it. But honestly, I don't care because it was awesome. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room. The ending. I know it didn't make a lot of sense for some people. For me, it didn't do anything to ruin the movie, but it also didn't do anything to make the movie better. It was like a combination of all the Alien movies rolled into one, even the weird ones. I totally understand why it was there, because they wanted to get in their last big action set piece, but I really don't think it was needed. I just wish the film would have had enough confidence to leave us with a question mark and maybe use that sequence to open, fingers crossed, the next film. But what do I know? Have you seen Alien Romulus? Is it as good as I say, or is it just another forgettable dud? Let me know in the comments. I really want to talk about this, and if you want to see where else I was pleasantly surprised, check out this review over here. Schlock on!